It's the big news in the medical world. Alzheimer's has its first new treatment in 18 years. The Food and Drug Administration recently granted conditional approval to a new drug that treats the root of the disease. But the FDA's conditional approval has been controversial. So why did the agency approve it? And does the drug actually work? Here now with more is Dr. Concetta Forchetti, a neurologist and the medical director of the Amida Health Neurosciences Institute Center for Memory Disorders. She ran the study here for the newly approved Alzheimer's drug, and she has no financial interest in the drug or the drug company. And Dr. Marcel Messoulam, a professor of neurology and neuroscience at Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine, where he is also the director of the Messoulam Center for Cognitive Neurology and Alzheimer's Disease. Welcome both of you to Chicago tonight.
Thank you.
Dr. Forchetti, I'll start with you. Since you have been on this study for 10 years, this is the first new drug for Alzheimer's in nearly 2 decades. What exactly does it do?
Well, as probably Dr. Messoulam can tell you better than myself, if we believe in the amyloid hypothesis and the cascade hypothesis as a cause of Alzheimer's disease, what this drug does binds to the amyloid, which is a protein that is not well metabolized as we age, precipitates in between the cells, forms plaque, causes a lot of disruption in the brain tissue. We don't know how triggers another protein, which is called tau, which forms the tangles, and then the tangles will kill brain cells, and the death of brain cells ultimately causes the symptoms that we see in patients when they come to our office with cognitive decline. So if we believe in this hypothesis, what this drug does, removes the beta amyloid from the brain, prevents the formation of plaque, and should halt or reduce the cascade and the tau formation and therefore cells death.
Given this, Dr. Messoulam, the FDA was torn on this conditional approval. Can you explain the controversy here?
So, as Dr. Forchetti said, the drug was designed to remove amyloid from the brain. And actually, in clinical trials, it did that beautifully. But obviously, the reason why you want to clear amyloid from the brain is so that there will be a clinical effect. That either there's going to be some improvement clinically or that the clinical worsening will be slowed down. That part is where the problem lies, because the evidence that the company provided is just simply not convincing. So what would be the point to clean your brain from amyloid if it doesn't have an effect that the patient can experience or the family detect?
Dr. Forchetti, I'm sorry, Dr. Messoulam. Dr. Forchetti, what did you find when you did that study? Did you find significant improvement in patients?
Yes, I have patients. Actually, my site was the #1 enroller in the world in the number of patients. They were randomized to the drug 10 years ago. So many of them have received the real drug for now 10 years. And it is true that the trial was briefly interrupted last March because the initial statistical analysis did not show a statistical significance. When the data were re-examined and they looked only at the very mild patients who were given the highest dose of the drug, which is 10 milligrams per kilogram, they found a significant delay in decline. My personal experience, which is personal, is not statistically significant, is that those patients that I've been following for 10 years, they are still doing well. They are still, some of them are still driving, they are still doing their activity of daily living, and I've been following these patients every month and every 3 months with cognitive testing.
All right, Dr. Messoulam, is there a downside here for this conditional approval, given that there is disagreement in the medical and scientific community, and could it hinder further studies for Alzheimer's treatments?
Well, if the evidence for clinical efficacy is not believable, then or at least let me say, not yet convincing enough, then how can you ask a patient to take a drug that requires hour-long infusions once a month
Yes.
that could have side effects of bleeds in the brain and swelling in the brain, and that is going to be costing a fortune?
And Dr. Forchetti, and that cost, we would presume, mostly would be picked up by Medicare, so it would be
Yeah.
public money because it would affect folks that are on Medicare. So what about those concerns, about the side effects, about the costs?
I am very concerned about the cost. I don't want to get into politics, but I don't share the politics that some company get the gain and then we pay for the benefit. I have to say that the bleeds were only micro bleeds, meaning microscopic. They were minimal, they didn't cause any problem. The edema, the vasogenic edema, was only in 30% of the patient. It resolved without any significant side effect, but the study was controlled. We followed those patients very closely. So I am concerned about what is going to happen when this drug is going to be available in the general public.
All right.
Concern about the cost.
Dr. Massoula, should the public have some skepticism with the FDA here, given that they did approve this despite their advisory committee recommending against it, and despite the fact that the drug manufacturer Biogen stands to make lots of money for itself and for its shareholders here, given this approval?
It's a leap of faith, and it's a conditional approval, and it's going to lead to a large post-approval trial, which hopefully is going to bring the necessary rigor to the clinical efficacy. And from then on, everybody will be the winner. But in the meantime, if that is not the case, then we're going to have a lot of individuals who are indefinitely on hour-long infusions that have no clinical benefit, and that would be a big problem.
So more to study. We only have a couple seconds, Dr. Forchetti. Just very quickly, who do you recommend this for? At what stage of the disease?
Well, first of all, I share Dr. Massoula's concerns. I would recommend it only to patients in the very early stages of dementia and who are very healthy, who don't have any other significant medical problem.
All right, we're going to have to keep following this. Our thanks to Dr. Concetta Forchetti and Dr. Marcel Massoula for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.